Oh golly. So that's what's in those things. I can't help but feel like there's something missing from recent Pokemon games. Pokeballs have been around since the very beginning of the series in Pocket Monsters Red Rum and Grime. We didn't have a whole lot of options, just your run-of-the-mill Pokeball, the upgraded Great Ball, and another upgrade, the Ultra Ball. We also had two very special varieties. There's the Master Ball, which is 100% guaranteed to catch any Pokemon that isn't a Whiscash. And then you have the Safari Ball, which is used after you've thrown a sufficient amount of rocks at Doduo. That was a fair fight. Generation 2 would give us a whole bunch of new Pokeballs, and they're all made from apricorns. These new Pokeballs would all have different success rates based on different factors with the target Pokemon. For example, the Heavy Ball has a better chance to catch heavy Pokemon, the Lure Ball is a good choice for fishing encounters, and then you have ones like the Friend Ball, which actually are the same rate as the Pokeball, but it just makes your new Pokemon all nice and friendly. How lovely. So you know how it goes. Generation 3 and 4 came along and they dumped some more Pokeballs onto us, including the much beloved Holy Quick Ball. And then, that's kinda where it ends. Generation 5 introduced something called the Dream Ball, which is more so just a gimmick Pokeball used in the Ultralink. In modern Pokemon games, it works better on sleeping Pokemon, which I guess makes sense. Generation 6 gave us nothing, and Generation 7 introduced another gimmick ball used for catching the Ultra Beasts. Now you can use these on regular Pokemon if you're interested in having bragging rights, but the catch rate plummets so far down that a Rattata has almost legendary odds. Generation 8, aside from bringing us all of the ancient Hisuian Pokeballs, really just gave us the Strange Ball, and I guess it's cool, but all it really does is just replace all of the awesome ancient Hisuian Pokeballs, so I don't know, it's not the best. Oh, and Generation 9? Yeah. They gave us nothing. Okay, now I suppose there's probably just way too many Pokeballs these days that there really isn't a need for any new ones. But I would still like to see maybe 1 or 2 new Pokeballs per generation. And no, not just purely gimmick ones. I mean, the Beast Ball is awesome, I admit. And the Strange Ball was a funny addition, but I can't help but crave something like what we used to get in Gen 2, 3, and 4. So if I've done my maths correctly, there are 2 generations with absolutely no new Pokeballs, and 1 generation with a Pokeball that you can't even use because it's more so a feature. So to make up for this loss, I'm going to create 4 new Pokeballs today. So let's get to work. Before doing a single concept, I had to make a template. We have a lot of nice artwork of Pokeballs, which you can find on pretty much any Pokemon-based website, but unfortunately all of this artwork is very small and not very suitable for drawing over. So in order to make my template, all I had to do was take a run-of-the-mill Pokeball artwork and flop it into Photoshop so I could trace over it with the circle tool. I then brought my circles into Paint Tool and drew in my lines and did a bit of cleanup. I also added in the shades and the highlights and put in the Pokeball colors as a placeholder. Now I have my template, yippee! Before I get to use my flashy new template, I do have to come up with a couple of designs. I just have some flat circles with lines through them for these, nothing too flash. I came up with 4 designs in total. Last time I did something circular, I also did 4, so, you know, consistency. We have one that looks like a sun. It sort of rivals the Moon Ball in a way. We also have a Legends Arceus based Pokeball, specifically based on the Feather Ball. I then made something a bit more classic looking, you know, something a little Gen 2. And finally, I have designed a bit of a wacky one. I noticed there weren't many dark and brooding Pokeballs. Everything seems to just be bright and happy, so this one is dreadful and sad. With all of that concept work done, it's time to see how well these translate into my template. I began by blocking in the colors from my handy concept art, and then I used the blur tool to blend it all in. It already looks so much better than my concept, which is good, it's supposed to. Drawing in the lines of the sun rays was probably the most difficult part. I'm not used to drawing spherical things, and something you kinda need to consider is that there aren't really any straight lines on a ball. Everything is curved, no matter how you look at it, no matter which way it's rotated. After getting the sun rays drawn, I then went in and filled in the middle of the Pokeball. It's scarily screaming Quick Ball, and I know that everyone loves and adores Quick Balls, so I'll just leave it here. I don't want to step on anyone's favorites' toes. Next up is the PLA ball, the modern day feather ball. I started filling in the design on the top hemisphere, but around 2/3 of the way through, I came to realize that it looks very what's the professional term? Super poopy mega ugly. So I scrapped it. Goodbye, original concept art. I'm deviating. I guess you could say this is officially some deviant art. I'm not sorry. I referenced the actual feather ball with the power of my short-term memory and added a wing-like design. And then after that, I put a Pokemon-styled feather, you know, with the notch on the top, in the middle of the hemisphere. It kind of ended up looking a bit like a heart. Kind of cute. For the rest of this ball, I used the original Pokeball colors. I don't think it really needed anything on the bottom hemisphere, and the band around the center is fine, staying true to the original. Now we're on to the lightning bolt ball. I have a name in mind for this one, which I will reveal at the end of the video, but it influenced this design a little bit. So because of the redacted name that I've given it, we're going to make the top design the shape of the letter V. Whatever could this Pokeball be named? Putting the bolt in the middle part of the yellow was actually really freaking hard. I sort of had to keep drawing over it and then shave off the edges with an eraser and then rinse and repeat, yada 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 yada. But then eventually it looked very super slick. Alright, final ball. This is it. The last ever Pokeball. I'm making it right now. I got inspired to make this after seeing the list of Pokeballs and realizing that there was a friend ball, but no unfriend ball. Like, if we can have a Pokeball that skyrockets friendship, why can't we have a Pokeball that plummets it? Normalize making Pokemon dislike you. Dust off that frustration, TM. We're about to boot it up. The arrow design is based on those, like, you know, anger vein things that you see in anime. Like when a character gets really hot-headed and they have the pulsing veins. You know what I'm talking about? I know. Kaifa's mind, am I right? The color choice wasn't really thought out. I just kind of went with an almost blood red with purple. It's a classic gothic combo that really sets the vibe, so it was more of a subconscious choice rather than something I intentionally did. It's giving Lilith Pleasant. I did actually mess around with the hue and saturation after drawing the design because I wasn't 100% convinced with my original color choice, but I'm also colorblind, so what do I know? Alright, Pokeball reveal time, not fakemon, despite the channel name. First up, we have the Quicker Ball. No, I'm sorry, it's not it's called the Sunrise Ball, as if I would call it the Quicker Ball. This is sort of a mix of an idea between the Quick Ball and the Dusk Ball. This Pokeball has a 3x catch multiplier when it is used in the morning. If the Pokemon you are trying to capture also evolves with a Sunstone, then it has an additional 2x multiplier. So Sunrise plus Sunstone equals 5x, just Sunrise is 3x, and just Sunstone is 2x. It's a bit confusing, but it makes sense, I think. When none of these conditions are met, it works just like a regular Pokeball. When you send out a Pokemon in this ball, there is a yellow sunray effect. Second up is the modern day Feather Ball. Back in the day, Feather Balls were used to easily capture Pokemon flying in the air or Pokemon who are very far away. In modern times, however, these Pokeballs were retrofitted to now have a ×3 multiplier on Pokemon who are lighter than 100 kgs. That's 220.5 pounds for anyone who doesn't use the metric system. And if it is used on a Pokemon who is heavier, it will have a 0.2x multiplier. This Pokeball also has a 3x multiplier on Pokemon with the Levitate ability, no matter the Pokemon's weight. And it always fails to capture Pokemon who have the Heavy Metal ability, or if the target Pokemon has used the move Ingrain. When you send a Pokemon out in this ball, it has a Feather Confetti effect. Next, we have the Volt Ball. Who could see it coming? This one is very, very simple. It simply has a 4x multiplier on paralyzed or electric type Pokemon. I thought a lot about the Dream Ball and how cool it is that there is a Pokeball where the catch rate is determined by status condition, so I wanted to do another one with the same concept. When you send a Pokemon out in this ball, it has a sparkler effect. Last but not least, we have the Anger Ball. This ball is the anti-friend ball. It's your least favorite Pokeball's least favorite Pokeball. The catch multiplier is not affected by any conditions, and it is just the same as a regular Pokeball, but Pokemon caught with this ball will have their friendship set to 0. Nil. Nada. When you send a Pokemon out in this ball, it has a red cloud effect. It's probably a good choice if you're wanting to actually use the move Frustration and literally nothing else. I hope you liked my new Pokeballs. Hopefully we will see more in the future. I'm begging you, Game Freak, make it happen. I genuinely wonder how the new Legends game will handle Pokeballs, whether we get the PLA ones, the modern ones, or all new ones, or all strange balls. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. Thank you as always for watching my video. Be sure to subscribe. I put out new videos every single Friday or Saturday if you live on Mirage Island like me. Alright, time to go back in here until next week.